Breaking news as Honda has officially revealed their 2025 CRF450R and CRF250R models. These bikes were unveiled during Media Day at the Fox Raceway National, where we got our first real look at the new 450 and 250, even though the 450 has been racing under Tim Geiser in the FIM MXGP Championship. Both bikes share a new frame, which is made up of 70% new components, with the goal of the testing being rigidity balance and stability. They informed us that despite the Honda feeling stiff in the rider's hands, their bike is actually one of the softest frames in the class. Case in point is Jet Lawrence's championship-winning bike here, which featured many added or reinforced pieces to the frame. This makes the frame stiffer, but gives an overall softer feel to the whole bike. If that's hard to follow, we'll have more on that with Honda's test rider Trey Kennard. The engine on the 450 is predominantly the same, but with a new airbox and a longer header pipe. It's aimed at smoothing out the overall power character. You'll still have traction control and 3 maps with the 2025 model, but you'll also get redesigned bodywork with these textured pieces in the rear for what they say is added grip and a better overall rider pocket. Suspension is also new on both bikes with updated linkage and settings to match the new frame. Mounting of the rear shock is also relocated and allows users to remove the shock in half the time of the previous model. Also new is the addition of the CRF250R Works Edition. Just like its 450 counterpart, the 250 WE comes chock full of trick parts. This includes a new hydraulic clutch instead of a cable-operated one, a full Yoshimura exhaust system with updated mapping settings, a twin-air air filter, graphics and seat cover, a red cylinder head cover, polished cylinder ports, upgraded DID rims, coated outer and lower fork tubes, a coated 18mm shock shaft, hand adjusters on the fork tubes, coated triple clamps, and more. This is going to go for both the CRF250R and CRF450R Works Edition models. We'll have a full first look at both bikes on our website and in the Cycle News digital magazine, so feel free to head over there to check out more photos and full details. But for now, let's hear from Trey Kennard, the American Honda HRC test rider, to hear more about these new bikes and the overall development process.
Yeah, man, I think probably, for me with this 2025 CRF, all of our CRF models, CRF450R, 250R, and the WEs, 250, 450, increasing rigidity balance is probably maybe a foreign thing for most people. I know for me, before the last 5 years, it definitely was. And it sounds so foreign, like I remember when I first came into, racing the pros, we had these, I think, 49mm diameter forks, and I wanted to go back to 48 stock. Like I just thought, I got this better feeling, and there's a lot of talk about steel frame versus aluminum, and so I think there's a little bit of a misconception about what is stiff feeling in, what is rigid, what is moving too much, flexing too much, and so it is confusing because the rider experience is actually when something is too soft with aluminum, it can create a really violent, stiff experience, and that's been our experience in development in the last few years as a race team and also on the production side. And so when we talk about rigidity balance as a whole, it's not just the frame in particular, the forks, the clamps. It's a whole package, and we're looking for a balance across the whole motorcycle that gives a good feeling across the board. The best way I can talk about making something stiffer and working better is like with our fork tubes. You went to a higher rigidity outer fork tube, and which sounds crazy, back to my original comment from when we started, is I wanted that 48mm fork, but the best way to explain it is going to that higher rigidity fork tube allows the suspension to work better. If you think about the fork working, if the rigidity balance is too low, you're actually getting too much flex in the fork tube, and so when you're in the stroke and the bike's going through the stroke, you're getting too much movement, actually creates a binding that happens and actually presents kind of like a really harsh, rigid feel. And so a lot of times what you'll do is you'll start taking some compression out, and it's like, man, it's getting worse. I don't understand what's going on. And so raising the rigidity balance actually made a smoother stroke feeling because you're not getting the binding that's taking place, as well as some of the chassis parts. You know, if you think about a soft metal, when you put a really big load on it, it's going to shift and move and shake, and then it's going to go back to its original formation. And so if the rigidity balance is too low, you're going to get a lot of that bending, twisting, and snapping. And so on a microscopic level, I mean, you can maybe pick it up with a camera.
That's the rider feels, and that's the stiffness.
Yeah, as a rider, you're like, man, this thing's trash. Like, it's so stiff. Make it softer. Change this torque point. You know, all these different things. And sometimes it can help because it's a balance, right? But for the most part, we've actually achieved a better feeling by increasing rigidity balance. And so, you know, that's been a pretty phenomenal thing for me to be a part of, just because it's really challenged my brain. You know, you've seen some of our bikes that we're racing with some patchwork and things like that. Yeah, exactly. So we have a concept, right? A theory that we want the frame to be stiffer. And the only way to do that for us as a race team is to add material to the frame. And we did that. We did it in several locations. I mean, all over the bike, and sometimes we made the bike way worse. But we finally, you know, Japan really gave us the right package, and through trial and error and testing other things, I feel like we really landed on the best package. And you know, we don't have to do that with patches on this 25 model. It's all incorporated and made into the chassis parts that are used. So yeah, I'm excited about it. You know, it's kind of a misconception, I think, that's out there, but you know, there has been times when rigidity balance has been way too high, so which will give you a stiff feeling. So it's really in the word balance. I mean, you want to find the right balance of high rigidity and low rigidity. You want to make sure that you're right in the middle and optimal performance. This test, there's a direction phase, right? So where you have a theory, you kind of create this Frankenstein motorcycle and you go test the theory. And for us to be involved in that process was huge. I don't think it's any secret that we struggled in the whoops, 21, 22, and we got help from HRC, from on the production side. Hey, this is some of the theory that we think can improve the motorcycle. And so we started trying some of that theory and placing patches in places. We got crazy with it at some points. There was one chassis that we came up with that had some really strong points, but had some really bad points, or it was really hard to ride. And so to kind of be able to work with Japan on that, have their feedback, have them receive our feedback on our level, I've never seen it like this, and I'm excited about it. I hope it continues to grow, because I think if you look at our race team, we're essentially a development team. We're trying to optimize performance of these bikes, and so we spend a lot of time doing that, and we're our own little test team. And so to be able to contribute to what they're doing, and then also they've contributed to our race team. I don't think we would have won the past 2 Supercross championships without their contribution to our race team. And so it's exciting for them, it's exciting for us, and I hope the relationship continues to grow and that we can be even more involved in the future. I think, you know, American Honda, Honda Japan working together, along with the MXGP side, is huge for our bike. So I hope to continue to see it grow.